Take a moment before we begin. Not because you need to do anything special, but because you deserve a softer entry into your own inner world. Imagine the light in the room settling. Imagine the edges of the day growing a little rounder. Imagine that wherever you are, the space around you is willing to hold you without asking for anything back. You are not late to this moment. You are arriving right on time. Let your shoulders lower by a fraction. Let your jaw rest. Let your stomach have the room it needs. You do not have to prepare for this. You only have to be present for it. If a breath wants to rise, let it rise. If a thought wants to pass through, let it pass through. There is nothing to fight right now. There is nothing to perform. There is only the quiet invitation to be with what is true for you. You are here for a reason you might not be able to name yet. Maybe you have been carrying a decision that keeps slipping out of your grip. Maybe you are standing in a hallway between two rooms, the one behind you that does not fit anymore, and the one ahead that is still dark. Maybe you are just tired of holding on to something that keeps asking for more than it ever gives back. Whatever brought you here is allowed to be here. Nothing needs to be tidied up for this conversation. You do not have to be wise or ready or strong. You only need to be honest. That is enough for now. Let's begin gently. Not with answers, but with space. Not with a plan, but with presence. The rest can unfold from there. Letting go sounds like a clean motion until your hands are the ones that have to loosen. It is easy to give advice from a distance. It is easy to say it is time, to say you deserve better, to say you will feel lighter when you release what is heavy. What is not easy is the feeling that creeps in when the familiar begins to slip. The familiar does not always mean healthy. The familiar means known. And the unknown, even when it holds space, can feel like standing at the edge of a dark field after sunset. You know a path exists, but your eyes have not adjusted yet. You might notice the tug of war inside you. One part of you knows the truth. Another part wants one more sign, one more conversation, one more attempt to fix what has not responded to your attempts for a very long time. Your mind tries to negotiate, to rewrite history in kinder colors, to pretend that a small good moment cancels a larger pattern. Your body, however, keeps telling the same story. The tight shoulders, the shallow breath, the nervous energy after every interaction, the quiet dread before every meeting. Your body is not against you. Your body is not dramatic. Your body is honest in a language that does not have words. There is grief in letting go, even when you are letting go of something that has been hurting you. It is not only the person, the role, or the habit that you are releasing. You are releasing an idea of yourself. You are releasing the version of you that kept waiting for change, the version that believed your effort could turn a locked door into an open one, the version that learned to survive by shrinking, explaining, and carrying more than your share. That version is not to be shamed. That version was doing what they knew. That version got you to this doorway. Honor them, and then tell them they can rest. There is confusion in the transition. You may feel off balance, like you are walking without the old weight that used to make every step feel predictable. You may question your perception because predictability can feel safer than freedom when you have been living in a storm. You may wonder whether you are being too sensitive, too impatient, or too demanding. But sensitivity is not a flaw. Sensitivity is information. It tells you where your boundaries are. It tells you what your nervous system can hold. It tells you when safety is missing, even if the story sounds reasonable on paper. If you are waiting to feel no doubt before you move, you may wait forever. Doubt accompanies honesty. The way fog accompanies dawn, it clears as the light rises, not before. You do not have to be certain to be sincere. You do not have to be unafraid to be brave. You can carry tenderness and wisdom in the same step. You can carry grief and clarity in the same breath. You can be heartbroken and still know this is not your home. Letting go does not have to be dramatic to be real. It can be a quiet decision you make in the privacy of your own chest. It can be the last time you reach for the thread that keeps cutting your hand. It can be the moment you stop rehearsing the apology that was never owed. It can be the day you stop standing at a door you have knocked on 100 times without an answer. There is friction because you care. There is friction because you have history. There is friction because your nervous system is wired to keep you near what it knows. But the known is not the same as the true. The known is not the same as the kind. The known is not the same as the life you are allowed to live. Naming that difference is not betrayal. It is the beginning of returning to yourself. You may have been taught that holding on is loyalty, that longevity is love, that endurance is proof of character. Those lessons can turn your heart into a museum where old pain remains on display, carefully dusted, carefully defended, carefully kept. If you learned that leaving equals failure, you will keep collecting reasons to stay, even when staying requires you to disappear a little more each day. If you learned that boundaries are selfish, you will keep giving what costs you sleep and self-respect because you want to be good, and you were told that goodness means less of you. Let us unravel those stories with care. Loyalty is not the same as self-abandonment. Love without respect is not love. It is dependency or performance or fear wearing the right language. Endurance is not always virtue. Sometimes it is the residue of a survival pattern that did its job a long time ago and now needs permission to soften. You are allowed to be loyal to your well-being. You are allowed to be faithful to your space. You are allowed to endure where growth lives, not where you are slowly dissolving. There is also a myth that letting go means the past did not matter. The mind likes absolutes. It wants to label an entire chapter as all good or all bad, but truth is less tidy. Something can be meaningful and still be complete. Something can teach you and still not belong in your future. You can hold gratitude for what you learned and still refuse to carry what breaks you. You can bless a chapter and close it. Both can be true in the same sentence, and that is maturity, not indifference, not denial, not hardness. Maturity is the soft courage to see clearly without needing to punish anyone in the process, including yourself. Another strand to loosen is the habit of building your present from yesterday's emotions. If most mornings begin with the same dread, the same tension, the same script of, I will try harder, you will keep recreating the same day with a different calendar date. Your nervous system does not care about the calendar, it cares about signals. If the signal you send is constant fear, constant scarcity, constant unworthiness, your choices will orbit those feelings. That is not a moral failing. That is biology and repetition. The way through is not to shame yourself for being human. The way through is to interrupt the pattern with the smallest, honest interruption you can hold. It might be a fuller breath you are not used to granting yourself. It might be a pause before you reply. It might be placing your hand on your heart before you open an app that drains you every time. Small interruptions become new signals. New signals become new days. You do not have to prove that letting go is justified by collecting more evidence of harm. You do not have to wait for a dramatic ending so that your choice makes sense to people who are not living your life. You are allowed to notice that you become a version of yourself you barely recognize when you are in a certain room, and you are allowed to choose a different room. You are allowed to notice that a dream you once loved now asks you to trade away your health, your joy, and your relationships, and you are allowed to change course without setting yourself on fire for warmth. You are allowed to decide that the cost is too high, even if no one else sees the price tag but you. Letting go without losing yourself means you tell the truth in your body first. You feel where the grip lives. You feel what loosens when you imagine space. You notice the exhale that returns when you picture a different path. You do not have to chase a perfect vision. You can simply stop arguing with the one inside you that has been whispering the same sentence for months. You can go now. The whisper does not need to shout to be right. It only needs to be recognized. The unraveling will not happen in a single afternoon. It will not happen because of a single sentence, even a true one. It will happen slowly, the way the night becomes morning. There is a moment when the horizon does not look different, but the light has already begun to change. There is a moment when your old explanations feel heavy in your mouth. There is a moment when your own name sounds clearer in your own voice. Trust that moment. You do not need a witness for it to be real. You only need to be willing to follow where it leads. There is a way to step into your next chapter that does not require you to harden. You can reclaim yourself with warmth. Begin by creating a sense of internal safety that does not depend on anyone else's permission. Safety in this sense is not a perfect environment. Safety is a posture toward yourself. It is how you speak to yourself when you falter. It is how you hold your breath when it shortens. It is the tone you use inside when you feel afraid. You do not need to be harsh to be clear. You do not need to be punishing to be honest. Kindness and truth do not cancel each other. They strengthen each other. You can practice this in simple ways that carry weight. When you wake, before the world makes its first request, let your breath be the first voice you hear. Let it be slower than your worry. Let it be steadier than your plans. Let it arrive and leave without you trying to earn it. You do not have to set an intention that you cannot keep. You can set a tone, I will not abandon myself today. That sentence does not demand achievements. It invites presence. It invites you to check whether your choices leave you with yourself or away from yourself. It invites you to notice when you are about to explain your value to someone who benefits when you doubt it. It invites you to step back from a pattern that depends on your absence to function. As you move through your day, pay attention to the moments when your body asks for a pause and your mind tries to override it. There is the email that ignites a familiar tension, and the old you reaches for urgency as armor. There is the conversation that leaves you smaller, and the old you begins cataloging reasons to excuse it. There is the plan that sounded good in theory, and the old you wants to double down to avoid disappointing expectations you never agreed to in your heart. Reclaiming yourself is not loud. It sounds like, I need a few minutes, and then actually taking them. It sounds like, that does not work for me, and then living with the quiet afterward. It sounds like, I am not available for that tone, and then leaving the room where that tone persists. When the pull to go back arrives, because it will, meet it like weather. You do not argue with rain. You find shelter and let it pass. The pull is not a sign that you made the wrong choice. The pull is the echo of the old pattern, trying to remind you of its rhythm. It will fade if you do not dance to it. You do not need to shame yourself for thinking about returning to what you left. You only need to remember why you left and feel the difference in your breath when you stay with yourself. You can bless what used to be home without moving your furniture back in. You can remember a softness without forgetting the sharpness that came after it. You can carry the parts of the story that shaped your compassion and refuse to carry the parts that exhaust your spirit. Your future does not require you to erase your past. It asks you to carry it in a way that does not bruise your present. There is a quiet ceremony to reclaiming your life. You might clean the corner of a room that has been collecting things you never really chose. You might delete a number that keeps asking you to distrust your own perception. You might take a walk with the simple intention to feel your feet meet the earth in a way that says, I am here and I belong in my own body. These are not small gestures. They are declarations disguised as ordinary acts. You do not have to create a new identity overnight. You can let your life be proof that you chose yourself. You will notice it in the way mornings feel less like bracing and more like opening. You will notice it in the way your voice returns to its natural tone when you speak to people who can hear you. You will notice it in the way your laughter stops asking for permission to be loud. You will notice it in the way silence stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like a kind of clean air. If doubt visits again, which it will, there is a sentence you can borrow. I can miss what hurt me. Both parts can be true. Missing something does not make it right for you. Missing something does not erase the cost it demanded. Missing something means you are human. Choosing yourself means you are learning. Close your eyes for a moment, if that is available to you. Imagine the image of your life that has been closest to your body loosening by a small degree. Imagine the rope slackening. Imagine the room gaining a window. Imagine that you do not have to carry the same bundle of explanations anymore. Let your breath meet that image. Let your breath be the evidence that there is a way forward that does not require you to disappear. You do not need to promise yourself that you will never struggle again. You do not need to declare a dramatic ending to prove to your doubt that you are serious. You only need to choose the next honest step that keeps you with yourself. That step might be a conversation you have postponed. It might be a boundary you honor even when it feels like a foreign language in your mouth. It might be resting when the old rhythm says push. It might be writing down what you know in simple, clear words that you can return to when the pull to rewrite the story returns. Breathe as if your breath is a gentle hand guiding you home. Breathe as if your breath knows the way, even when you do not. Let the exhale leave a little more slowly than it arrived. Let the body understand that it is safe to release what is done. If a tear rises, let it rise and leave. If a quiet comes, let it stay. If nothing happens, you are still doing it. You are still practicing the art of presence, which is the art of not abandoning yourself when your life asks you to choose. You are not losing yourself by letting go. You are returning to yourself by telling the truth about what you can no longer carry. The space that feels uncertain now will become familiar. The light will become recognizable. The path will become a path because you walk it, not because you can see it end to end. Trust the next few feet. Trust the quiet wisdom that has been here the whole time, waiting for you to soften enough to hear it.